Today we continue our series looking at cards built around the new legendary creatures from Battle for Baldur's Gate. Raised by Giants is a very interesting background, and when I first saw it, I wanted to throw it into my Sigarda deck. A Voltron commander with a base power of 10 seems awesome. However, I wanted to pair it with one of the commanders from Battle for Baldur's Gate. So I went through each of them, and finally settled on Sarevok, Deathbringer. Quick reminder to like and subscribe before we take a look at our commander pairing. I've been ecstatic with the growth this channel has had so far, and I'm excited to see where we're going. If you want to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Damon. One of the tiers is specifically set up for Commander. For only $25, I'll build you a custom Commander deck, and even do a deck video on it based around your specifications. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. Sarevok Deathbringer is a 4-mana 3/4 legendary human knight. He says at the beginning of each player's end step, if no permanents left the battlefield this turn, that player loses X life, where X is Sarevok's power. He also lets us choose a background. Raised by Giants makes it so our commanders have base power and toughness of 10/10. So if both are on board, and it gets to an opponent's end step, and no permanents left the battlefield that turn, that opponent takes 10 to the face. Now the drawback is if they sacrifice a fetch land, or destroy a different player's permanent, then Sarevok won't trigger. Sarevok cares about all permanents on the battlefield, not just the one a specific player controls. Now, while we can't keep every permanent on the battlefield, we can keep some of them through the clever use of fogs. But before we get into our deck list, we should keep in mind our checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, 1 sudden I win card. Now I'd thought about doing another Aristocrats deck. That is a viable option with this commander pairing. Run cards like Poison Tip Archer, Bastion of Remembrance, or Viscera Seer. Maybe a small life gain package with Veto Thor to the Duskrose, Epicure of Blood, and Defiant Bloodlord. But I decided the funniest way to build this deck would be fogs. So we're running Constant Mist, Fog, Obscuring Haze, Blessed Respite, Moment's Peace, Respite, and Thwart the Enemy. And to blow up our opponent's stuff, we're running Infernal Grasp, Reclamation Sage, Merciless Executioner, Putrefy, Abrupt Decay, Naturalize, along with Zat's Will, Return to Nature, and Golgari Charm, which serve as our first 3 pieces of graveyard hate. To prevent our opponents from utilizing their treasure tokens, we also have a Collector Oof. For board wipes, we're running Deadly Tempest, Hellish Rebuke, Vona's Hunger, Make an Example, and Culling Ritual. I know that Vona's Hunger and Make an Example don't clear whole boards, but when you only have 3 creatures on board, it might as well be a complete wipe. Our card advantage package consists of Deadly Dispute, Sign in Blood, Night's Whisper, Blood Pact, Ambition's Cost, Ancient Craving, Dockside Chef, Keen Duelist, and Twilight Prophet. Eternal Witness and Victimize serve as a bit of graveyard recursion. Now, I said we aren't really a life gain deck, which is why we're not running Veto. However, we are a life loss deck. We want Sarevok to trigger and cause our opponents to lose 10 life every turn. But what if we can make that number bigger? For that, we're running Warlock class and Wound Reflection. To add extra damage every turn, we're running Loyal Subordinate, Retreat to Hagra, and Court of Ambition. For additional stacks effects, we've got Bloodseeker, Witherbloom Apprentice, Rug of Smothering, Marchesa's Decree, Bellow Mauler, Calculating Lich, and Trespasser's Curse. I know that Trespasser's Curse, like all curses, only targets a single player in Commander. However, there's usually one person at the table playing Elves, or Locust God, or Xyrus, or some other go-wide deck, and this curse will help keep them in line. For theft effects, we're running Turgrid God of Fright, and Brainstealer Dragon. Finally, our Sudden I Win card is Grey Merchant of Asphodel. For mana ramp, we've got Soul Ring and Arcane Signet for mana rocks. I know that mana rocks don't work well with Collector Oof, but shutting down our opponent's treasures while they try and find an answer to the Oof is a small price to pay for that lack of synergy. We also have a Noble's Purse and Tireless Provisioner as ways to generate self-sacrificing cards, so we don't lose life to our own commander. For land fetching, we've got Sakura Tribe Elder, Burnished Heart, Solemn Simulacrum, Rampant Growth, Farseek, Nature's Lore, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, and Migration Path. Now, I wanted to make absolutely sure we didn't lose life to our own commander, so we're running all 5 of the Streets of New Capenna fetches: Broker's Hideout, Cabaret Courtyard, Maestro's Theater, Obscura Storefront, and Riveteer's Overlook. We also have a Myriad Landscape for additional ramp, Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanses budget mana fixing, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Blighted Woodland, Bajuka Bog as more graveyard hate, Dark Moss Bridge, Foul Orchard, Golgari Guildgate, Jungle Hollow, Tainted Wood, Temple of Malady, 10 Forests, and 9 Swamps. So let's see how our deck compares to our checklist. 50 mana sources, split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, right on target. 11 pieces of card advantage, 10 pieces of spot removal, 5 board wipes, 4 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 Sudden I Win card. So our deck checks all the boxes and is fun to play. Is it the strongest version of this deck? Absolutely not. But people won't hate you for playing it. What's that? You want to see an upgraded version of the list? Gentle viewer, I'm going to have to ask you to stop the video right here and ask yourself, do you really want to see something mean and vicious? If you play Commander for fun and not to
crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women,
you should turn away right now. Thanks for tuning in, but go no further. So, you've decided to stick around. Welcome to the dark side of Commander. Today we'll be discussing how to completely destroy your opponent's wills to live. To do this, we need hand disruption, creature disruption, and land destruction. We will be building a Death and Taxes version of Sarevok. To help ensure our opponents have no creatures, we're running Toxic Deluge, Lethal Vapors, the Meathook Massacre, Gravelighter, and Tainted Aether. To attack their ramp, we're running Collector Oof, Infernal Darkness, Contamination, Kamal Fist of Krosa, and Nature's Revolt. How is Nature's Revolt attacking our opponent's ramp, you ask? It gives lands Summoning Sickness. Also, combined with any of our board wipes, we send the whole game back to the Stone Age. These 10 pieces make up the death part of our Death and Taxes package. But what about the taxing? To attack our opponent's hand, we're running Oppression, Bottomless Pit, Court of Ambition, and Chain of Smog. And to attack their life totals, in addition to our commander, we're running Torment of Hailfire, Exsanguinate, Archfiend of Despair, and Painful Quandary. Now, the way you play this deck is pretty straightforward. You play cards from your hand until your opponents run dry. You killed all their creatures, stopped their ramp, and emptied their hands. And then, when they have given in to despair, you finish them with a giant-sized Sarevok Deathbringer. So let's take a closer look at the pieces of this deck and see what we're working with. Most of the rest of the deck is very similar to the budget list, but I did want to go over some changes. Because we're going to be blowing up our own lands as well as our opponents, we want the ability to get lands back from the graveyard. To accomplish this, we're running Cartographer and Elvish Farmer. Crop rotation is there to help fetch Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Cabal Coffers, or Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. Lotus Cobra can lead to some explosive turns, while Journey to Eternity helps us with some additional graveyard recursion. Now, we've got a Collector Oof to shut down artifacts, but if it gets removed, that's okay. With the overwhelming number of treasure generators in Commander these days, Viridian Revel means we will draw so many cards we won't know what to do with them all. Finally, to find these evil and malicious cards, we've got Vampiric Tutor and Demotic Tutor. Now, a lot of people are going to be focusing on trying to remove our big flashy spells. Shutting off our opponent's mana or forcing them to discard every turn will instantly make us the archenemy. But we can grind value with cards like Phyrexian Reclamation and Corpse Dance. But the sudden I win card in this deck is the 2-card combo of Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. We cast Chain of Smog, targeting ourselves, then copying it. We do this 50 or maybe 100 times, and every time we copy the spell, Witherbloom Apprentice triggers, draining our opponents for 1 and gaining us 1 life. Sure, we won't have a hand when we're done, but we also won't have any opponents. There's a link to the full deck list below. Be sure to check it out, but be prepared to have your friends hate you. Please check the deck list out and then leave a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to Mater to Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. I post new Commander deck videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.